Hi class, Ms. Womack here. Just doing a couple of extra, just a little bit of algebra, because we all need to brush up on it, right? Now, what we've been doing in class is trying to rearrange linear equations just to make sure you're in shape for it, we'll say that. And we want it to be solved where the y is going to be equal to mx plus b, and that's called slope-intercept form. So we've been solving for y. Now what that means is we need to undo what we see here until all that remains is a y on one side of the equation. Now, for each one of these, there's little things to consider. Obviously, there are two moves that are going to have to be made. I have to undo this. I have to get rid of it somehow, some way. And I also have this term right in front of the y that I need to get rid of. So in 2 steps, we should be done. So we're going to work backwards using the opposite of what we see, or the inverse of the operation. Sort of like this. If I put something together by adding, then if I take it away, it's gone. Makes sense, right? If it's negative, we're going to add it. That sort of thing too. So here we go. This entire 13x is a term. So the first thing we're going to do is just subtract it from this side, and that whole term, including the x, can be removed, because 13x minus 13x means goodbye, I'm 0 now. So we'll do the fair thing. Now this is subtraction. We did it on one side of the equation, so we need to do that on the other side of the equation. I'm going to take away 13x. The only thing left over on this side of the equation is right there. So we'll bring that down and set it equal to this information over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and let the slope come first, because we're putting it in slope-intercept form. Whereas if it would have gone second, I'd have called it a subtraction sign. If it pulled it out in front, suddenly I begin calling it negative. I know, it's rather confusing. We'll get used to it though. Negative 13x minus 12. Last step, divide by a negative 11. Now, make certain that when we subtract and add, we only have to do it once on each side. However, when you divide, you make sure it's not fair unless every single term is actually divided by the 11 or the negative 11. Then that's going to do is it's going to be fair all the way across the board. We've been discussing that in class. Negative 11 divided by negative 11 is 1. Leaving y. We'll go ahead and isolate that slope. Negative over a negative over a negative is going to end up being positive. That's 13/11ths, and we can leave it as an improper fraction. And the last step, that's going to be plus, because that is a negative over a negative, and it's equal to a positive. All right, let's try another. Again, subtracting x from both sides, bringing down our negative 3y, it's equal to negative x plus 6. Last step, we're dividing by a negative 3. And when you divide, make certain that every single term, and terms can be easily found because they're separated by pluses and minuses. So that's going to be 1y. And also right here, some students write this term right here as x over 3 and make it positive. That is correct. It is x over 3, or x thirds. But it could also be written, if we want our slope, as 1 over 3x. And the last one is going to be a minus 2. Now, again, we go back and forth because this term that we see here, when we actually it looks like if we're reading it across, it's like plus 6, but suddenly it turns into a division problem, and the signs are different, which determines that that is going to be negative, and therefore a subtraction sign is going to go down here, because the top was positive, the bottom was negative, and we write -2. So I hope this helps.